Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's story, I've got a question for you. Have you ever been cheated on? Or maybe you've caught someone you know in the act. Let me know your story in the comments below. I'm curious to read them. Alright, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. I thought I knew what love looked like. 3 years together, countless flights back and forth, learning the quirks of her culture, her family's language, even the way her mom made tea in the morning. I thought we were building something unshakable. She was from another country, and every summer and Christmas she'd fly home. It became our rhythm, her heading home for a few months, and me joining for 2 or 3 weeks when I could. Her family adored me. My family adored her. Everyone said she was the one who finally grounded me. And for a long time, I believed that too. But then, 2 days before I was supposed to fly out to see her, my phone buzzed in the middle of the night. Her name lit up the screen. The message was vague. I want to talk to you before you come, to give you a chance not to come if you don't feel up for it. My heart immediately dropped into my stomach. She didn't say it, but I already knew. Something had happened. I stared at the screen, rereading her words over and over. I typed, "What's going on?" But she wouldn't tell me. Instead, she said she wanted to talk on the phone tomorrow because it was the closest thing to being in person, and she didn't want me to feel trapped if I decided not to come. I barely slept that night. I kept imagining scenarios, each worse than the last. My brain played this cruel game, filling in the silence with images I didn't want to see. The next day, I finished work, sat in my car, and just stared at my phone for a few minutes before calling her. My hands were shaking. I told myself maybe it's something else. Maybe I'm overthinking. But deep down, I already knew I wasn't. She picked up. Her voice was calm, too calm. And then she said it. She told me one of her friend's roommates had been flirting with her. She couldn't remember if she flirted back. Yeah, right. 2 days later, they bumped into each other at a festival. The roommate kissed her, and she kissed back. She swore that was all that happened, that it didn't go further, that she didn't want to hurt me. But lately, I didn't make her feel wanted. That last part hit me like a punch to the chest. Didn't make her feel wanted? I've flown across oceans for her. I've spent time with her family every year. I had her birthday gift waiting at home for when she returned. I constantly showed her love in ways big and small, and she knew it. But in her mind, this was somehow my fault. I was silent for a while. I didn't trust my voice not to crack. Then I told her I wasn't sure if I wanted to come on the trip anymore. She got angry. But then, hours later, she started sending videos and texts from her family, them asking about me, saying how excited they were to see me. Guilt crept in, and against every screaming instinct in my body, I packed my bags. When the plane wheels touched the tarmac, I felt a nothing. No rush of excitement like before. No butterflies. Just this dull heaviness in my chest. She was waiting at the airport. Same smile. Same wave. Same warmth in her voice when she said my name. But it felt different. Like she was acting in a play, and I'd somehow wandered backstage and seen the script. Her arms wrapped around me, but I didn't feel that familiar spark. Instead, I noticed how her body stiffened for a second before relaxing. Did she feel guilty, or was it me imagining things? On the drive to her parents' house, she chatted about random things, traffic, the weather, a new cafe in town. Not one word about us. Not one word about what she told me 2 days ago. Her family greeted me like I'd been gone for years. Hugs, laughter, questions about my job, my parents. Her mom, as always, made little comments about when I'd finally marry her daughter. Normally, I'd blush and laugh it off. This time, I forced a smile and changed the subject. The first night, I slept next to her, but my body felt like it belonged to someone else. I could feel her noticing the space I left between us in bed. I could feel her wondering why I didn't touch her. The truth was, I couldn't bring myself to. Over the next few days, I tried to push the thought of that kiss out of my mind. Tried to pretend nothing had changed. I even convinced myself to make a move when we finally had alone time. She wasn't interested. No hesitation, No warmth in her eyes. Just nothing. It had been 2 months since we'd last seen each other. 2 months. And she looked at me like a stranger. I told myself maybe she was tired. Maybe she was stressed. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't about being tired. Something inside her had already left me. The worst part? I could feel myself slipping into paranoia. Every time she was on her phone for too long, my mind replayed that night she admitted to flirting. That kiss. The possibility, the probability, that there was more she wasn't telling me. And then there was the group of friends she'd been with that night. The ones she swore didn't know anything. Because they hate cheaters. Tomorrow I'd have to see them. Smile. Pretend everything was fine. Meanwhile, her mother kept bringing up marriage like it was the most natural next step. And I just kept nodding and thinking, I don't even know if I can trust her for another week. The country that once felt like a second home now felt like enemy territory. And I was sleeping next to the one person who could destroy me without lifting a finger. The next evening, we were getting ready to go out. She told me we were meeting her friends, the same group she'd been with the night it all happened. I stared at myself in the mirror, tying my shoes slower than I needed to, my mind spinning. She swore they didn't know anything because they'd never forgive me if they did. But I've been around long enough to know that people are terrible at hiding things when there's guilt in the air. When we walked into the bar, the noise hit me like a wave. Laughter, music, clinking glasses. Her friends lit up when they saw us. Hugs, greetings, the usual "we've missed you" routine. But I was watching their eyes. Every glance toward me. Every time their gaze flicked between her and me. One of the girls hugged me tighter than usual and held on a second too long, like she was silently apologizing for something she couldn't say out loud. Another friend avoided looking at me entirely, focusing on her drink like it was the most fascinating thing in the world. And then him, the roommate. I hadn't even realized he'd be there. My chest tightened instantly. He gave me a casual smile and a nod, like we'd never met, like I didn't know he'd had his mouth on my girlfriend weeks ago. She hadn't mentioned he'd be here. That omission alone felt like another betrayal. Through the night, I noticed small things. The way she avoided standing too close to him but still glanced his way when she thought I wasn't looking. The way he laughed at her jokes with a little too much familiarity. Halfway through, I excused myself to the bathroom just to breathe. I stared at my reflection, gripping the sink. Why did I even come here? When I came back, she was at the bar, leaning in to hear one of her friends over the music. But my eyes went straight to the roommate. He was looking at her. Not like a stranger, not like a friend, but like someone who'd tasted something forbidden and wanted more. I felt the heat rise in my face. I wanted to walk out, but I knew her family would ask questions. I knew her friends would notice, and she'd twist it into me being too sensitive or paranoid. So I stayed. I smiled when I had to. I laughed at jokes I didn't hear. I played the role of the devoted partner while my insides burned. That night, lying in bed next to her, she fell asleep almost instantly. I just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. My mind wouldn't stop replaying every look, every tiny movement, every silence from earlier. I could feel it. The walls of trust we'd built over 3 years were collapsing, and she was either too blind to see it or didn't care anymore. The days after that night felt heavier. She acted like nothing happened, like we were just enjoying a normal vacation. But I couldn't stop noticing the little things. Her phone was always in her hand, not just scrolling, typing. Sometimes she'd tilt the screen ever so slightly when I walked past. And when I'd ask, "Who are you talking to?" she'd answer quickly, too quickly, always some generic name, like a cousin or a coworker. One afternoon, her mom asked us to pick up some groceries. We were walking down the street when her phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, smiled faintly, and put it back in her pocket without replying. "Who's that?" I asked casually. She looked at me for a moment too long before saying, "No one important." I let it go in the moment, but inside, my brain was screaming. Then came the story about her pants. We were sitting in her living room, and she suddenly laughed and told me how she'd tripped on her long, flowy pants a few weeks ago, how she'd been carrying food, going up the stairs, and they slid right down in front of everyone. She was smiling while telling it, until I asked, "Was the roommate there?" Her whole expression shifted. Her smile vanished. "Why does it matter?" she snapped. I just stared at her. That's the night it started, I thought. The night all that harmless flirting began. And now she didn't even want to talk about it. That evening, I noticed she was quieter than usual. Not distant in a shy way, distant in a calculated way, like she was deliberately keeping me out. When I tried to bring up what happened before I came, she rolled her eyes. "We already talked about this," she said, her tone sharp. "Do you want me to spend the rest of this trip feeling like I'm on trial?" No. What I wanted was the truth. What I wanted was for her to take responsibility instead of acting like I'd somehow caused all of this. But every time I even hinted at it, she'd get angry, change the subject, or suddenly remember something she had to do. That night, I dreamed about her cheating again. Vivid, awful dreams where she was laughing in my face while holding someone else's hand. I woke up with my heart racing, the sheets tangled around me, and her still asleep beside me, looking peaceful as if none of this touched her at all. I lay there thinking about the fact that in just a few days we'd be flying back to our shared apartment. She'd mentioned wanting a 2 to 3 week break to figure out what we want. But I already knew how that would go. I'd be the one sleeping somewhere else. I'd be the one questioning every moment. And she'd be out with her friends, the same friends who, apparently, knew nothing. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't trust her. Not with her phone. Not with her friends. Not with my heart. The day we left her country, I felt lighter, but not in a good way. It was the kind of lightness you feel after weeks of carrying something too heavy, and realizing you're about to set it down, even if it means losing it forever. At the airport, she was cheerful, talking about the things we'd do when we got back. But every time she said we, it sounded hollow. I kept wondering if she really meant we, or if she already knew she'd be spending that time without me. On the plane, I pretended to watch a movie. In reality, I just stared at the dark reflection in the screen, playing through every moment of the last few weeks like a twisted highlight reel. The late-night text before I came, the kiss she admitted to, the way she blamed me for not making her feel wanted, the stares from her friends, the way she pulled her phone closer when I walked by. Every piece fit together too neatly, too perfectly, and yet, she still hadn't told me the whole story. I could feel it. When we landed, she suggested we grab dinner before going home. I said no, told her I was tired. Truth was, I couldn't stand the thought of sitting across from her in a quiet restaurant, pretending we were fine while my chest burned with questions. Back at our apartment, I dropped my suitcase in the hallway. The place smelled like home, but it didn't feel like it anymore. She went to take a shower and I sat on the edge of the bed, my bed, staring at the spot where she usually slept. I thought about how in the coming days, she'd probably start packing a bag, maybe stay with a friend, just for space. How we'd tell people we were taking a break, and how, deep down, we'd both know the truth. Breaks don't fix broken trust. When she came out, hair damp, wearing one of my shirts like nothing was wrong, she asked if I was okay. I looked at her for a long time before answering. "I don't think we're the same people we were 3 years ago," I said. She frowned. "So, what are you saying?" And in that moment, I realized I had two choices. I could try to glue this thing back together, knowing it would never be as strong as it once was, or I could walk away, keep the pieces, and try to build something new for myself. The words sat on my tongue. Heavy. Final. But I didn't say them that night. Not yet. Instead, I just told her I needed time. And as she climbed into bed beside me, acting like everything was fine, I stared into the dark and made a silent promise to myself. This will be the last time I let someone make me feel like I'm hard to love. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to support the channel. It really helps me keep bringing you more stories like this. Wishing you an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.